Happy Halloween!
Now, give us $12.
Welcome back to the Realm Kast bite-sized episode. In this video, we'll delve deep into the controversial world of microtransactions in the Mortal Kombat franchise, comparing them as well as general pricing and included content to previous entries.
Now, Mortal Kombat 1 takes in-game currencies and says more, with a very uncanny resemblance to mobile games, as it introduces multiple currencies to the game. We have coins, we have seasonal credits, we have tokens, we have dragon crystals. More I'm probably forgetting, honestly, off the top of my head. But these dreaded dragon crystals, essential for in-game purchases via the premium store. Only obtainable with real money, which is then, of course, converted into the crystals, or earnable at a finite amount by a game at the time of this recording.
So taking on further aspects of mobile gaming, the game relies quite heavily on fear of missing out, also known as FOMO, with seemingly time-gated purchases. Remember the Jean-Claude Van Damme skin, the Masquerade bundle, featuring Dia de los Muertos Scorpion and Sub-Zero and Cannibal Killer Melina? Well, some of these skins looked generic, most were just palette swaps, and all were marked as time-gated as the clock ran down on being able to purchase them, only to return to the store very soon after, leading to a general idea throughout the community that the game is basically missing content.
I mean, yeah, you've mentioned obviously the sort of, I would say, premium skins here with the Dia de los Muertos Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Cannibal Killer Melina. These are actual skins which have sort of some variance to them, you know, in comparison to the generic palette swaps. But we do also have to mention there are other skins which are literally just palette swaps and are being sold in the store. But of course, you'll have Deadly Alliance Scorpion, where I remember you and I were both super excited to get it, although I still don't get why they chose the ultimate skull and not one with a mask. But like that was, oh, do we have to buy this now, or can we get this later? And turns out he repeated, I think, literally the week after. But before we get further into this, let's actually look at the Dragon Crystal pricing, all in US dollars. So we have 500 Dragon Crystals for a measly $5. That is dripping with sarcasm, if you cannot tell. 1,250 Dragon Crystals for $9.99, 2,700 for $19.99, 5,900 for $39.99. Do you remember the pricing in MK11, Phantom?
No, I don't.
Do you think it was similar or completely different to what we're getting in MK1?
I'm presuming that it was pretty similar to what we have in Mortal Kombat 1.
Very similar, actually. So both of them have 500 crystals for $4.99, but it then sort of decreases in the amount it gives you in MK11 compared to MK1, with 1,150 for $9.99 rather than $12.50, 2,500 instead of 2,700 for $19.99, and 5,600 instead of 5,900 for $39.99.
So wait, these are extremely similar numbers. Aren't you actually getting more Dragon Crystals than you're getting Time Crystals for the same price?
Sure, yes, but that's leaving out a very, very important comparison, which is the actual pricing of the purchasable items. MK11's Time Crystal store, as far as I remember, was actually much cheaper, and I would argue less predatory. Like, yes, we did talk about it at the time, but it was not on the same scale as people are doing so now with MK1. You might be getting more crystals for the same price than MK1, but you can actually buy less with that larger amount.
But what if you, like, I mean, yeah, these are the prices for these crystals, but what if you compare that to actual gear pieces?
One gear piece in MK1 is 300 Dragon Crystals, okay? 300. That's about $3, right? If 500 is $4.99, right? So let's compare that actually going all the way back to MKX. One character in MKX is $5. Tremor and Tanya's bundles are $7.99. I think Predators too, with 3 skins included each. The MKX horror skin pack with non-palette swap, I mean genuinely completely new designs, is $3.99. One character in MK11 is $5.99. Have I made my point yet?
But wait, didn't you mention earlier that you can actually earn them in the game itself?
Well, that would be a nice point, right? Hey, you can pay to sort of just speed up the process, or you can earn them via actual gameplay. But as I mentioned, it's actually only a finite amount. 5,700 Dragon Crystals in total from playing the game. 500 for story mode, 600 for profile leveling, and 200 for character mastery. I think at levels 20 and 31. That is not much. I'm pretty sure within 2 weekly store rotations, if you purchased everything, you'd be completely out of those already. If you somehow manage to finish every single character's mastery in the first 2 weeks, let's say.
And considering that most of these premium purchases are around 1,000 Dragon Crystals, you're basically not getting that much out of it, right?
Pretty much, especially when other lesser purchases are still around 300, as we said for the gear pieces, to 500 or 600 Dragon Crystals. MK11, as much as we hated on it, at least actually rewarded people with a constant amount of time crystals via Kombat League gameplay. Again, as much as I hated Kombat League too. Even earnable skins and gear are being sold right now in the premium store, alongside premium store exclusive, I say, we don't know what's going to happen, purchases, which is causing further frustration among players. On top of that, we mentioned the skin bundles. They have apparently removed discounts as well, at least as far as I saw, from bundle parts, which has further made the situation even worse. Like, if you remember, Illinois Johnny was, I think, 600 Dragon Crystals if you didn't own a single pallet from it. And I think there are 6 pallets per bundle, per that bundle. On top of that, there's a 1 gear piece. So in his case, sunglasses, right? So because I unlocked all of Illinois Johnny's pallets through the shrine, I could purchase the bundle just to get Johnny's glasses, which I don't even think I did, for 60 Dragon Crystals, right? That makes sense. That actually gives a sort of idea as to the value of each of the skin pallets, right? But now it seems that has been removed with the latest patches. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't checked since I noticed that change. Maybe it's been fixed. I don't know. But that's what I've noticed.
Yeah, but okay, so these skins and the gear pieces and things like that, that's not the only thing that you can purchase in Mortal Kombat 1 with your currency, though.
No.
You have easy fatalities.
Everybody's favorite. Now, I don't even know if it says how many tokens are included with the purchase. I'm not actually sure. I have stayed far, far away from those. I've never liked them, and I think I've only ever used it by mistake in MKX. I'm pretty sure.
I myself, I don't buy them. I've gotten a few as rewards, but some people do like them, so that is an option if you want to purchase your fatalities for some reason. But one of the big complaints I've heard from various people, yourselves included, is that you can't actually preview any of your purchases within Mortal Kombat 1 store.
Yeah, and that's a huge problem. I mean, they have this whole, view where you can look through your character and the customization and everything. So Garrus, as an example, got a tiny little thing there on his chest, and you can barely see it. Some characters actually will turn in such a way where you can't actually see the gear that you're purchasing. You can't actually see it or even rotate the character. So you can't see the skins, you can't see the gear. I mean, what's the logic behind that? You want to sell something, don't you want to show it off a bit more?
Yeah, and especially because, gear is being sold for these higher prices. What is it, like 300 Dragon Crystals per each piece of gear? And some pieces are earnable within the gameplay itself.
It's earnable via both. And the problem is that it doesn't actually tell you that you can actually earn this in the game via gameplay. When you go into the customization screen, in MK11, it used to tell you Towers of Time or Tower or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it would say Kombat League. It would actually tell you how you can earn this gear piece or how you can earn this skin. It doesn't tell you even which skins are unlockable in MK1. So going back to your point, should they be selling earnable skins and gear in the store? That's a good question, because on one hand, you'll get people saying, oh, I wish that I could earn this stuff via both the store and gameplay. But then you're getting it for the same price as store exclusive gear and skins, where other people are going to say, well, I'd rather just unlock this stuff and then you can have this stuff as exclusive to the store. But then that leads to the problem of, oh, so you're just going to sell all the good stuff via the store. So what do you think the balance is?
The balance should be for selling and gear, and I don't think they should sell anything at all.
Yeah, fair enough. You're completely against the entire like microtransaction addition to Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, exactly. I hate pay to play. Like, that's why I don't play mobile games, or if I do, I never purchase anything on it. And especially with a game that buying collector's edition, you're paying over $100 for it. I don't want to buy anything else once I have the game. I'm happy, content with base model or whatever it comes with, because I'm not gonna put out more money for something like that.
Now, what do you say to supporting the devs? You know, like, for example, let's just say they do throw in some 3D era skins into Deadly Alliance Scorpion. You know, would you be happy purchasing those?
If I have some dragon crystals somehow that I've accumulated, then yes. But no, I'm not going to go out of my way to purchase a skin. It's not a tangible item, in my opinion. I don't need to dress up my characters to play Mortal Kombat.
But then how do you counter the point that why should the devs continue supporting this game if they're not going to continue making any money from it? By the way, I'm with you on this. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Well, because the game itself, I mean, support for a game is basically ensuring that the game works. You know, I wouldn't go as far to say that games are released in a beta model, but you know, when games come out, there's a lot of things that get discovered once they start getting played more, because we don't have the same type of quality assurance that we used to have, and we're able to patch things now, which we couldn't do in the past. So I think games should come with support because they release them in some cases before they're finished.
Okay, sure. But assuming that the game is complete and the only thing that you're really going to be seeing with the game is going to be balance. So let's just say, looking back at MK11, Shiva's Stomp, for example, people needed that to be balanced big time. That needed to be nerfed, if anything, right? So let's just ignore that kind of stuff and just say, okay, this character needs to be tuned down a bit, this character needs to be tuned up a bit, you know. That is what you consider to be support for the game. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And I mean, I know there are fans that enjoy the skins, and good on them if that's what you want to purchase. I myself have no interest in playing Barbie dolls with my Mortal Kombat characters.
Are you sure it's enough for you to not have any more skins added to the game?
Anyways, so
I mean, I actually, obviously, I've said this multiple times. I quite like skins in the game. I like being able to have my character look like, you know, a certain way. I like having the different, for example, MK11 Rain outfits. I like having different ways to make Rain look different. How Smoke can potentially have an MK9 skin is super cool in my head. You know what I mean? Like, those sort of things are really cool to me because, and this is the part where I think you will agree, you like those classic skins. You would be happy with those classic skins in the game. So for you, it's a nostalgia thing. And yeah, you could argue the same thing with me. For example, if I got an Armageddon Rain skin, oh, I'd be so happy because I love that skin. But then I'd also like to have different skins. And I think that that's a good way of supporting the game, because otherwise, technically, the devs really have no real incentive to continue supporting the game for a longer life, aside from making sure that it's, you know, ready for tournaments and such, which just leads to further purchases in the FGC community.
Yeah, but you know, back in my day, we had things like the Crypt, where you could unlock various skins and things like that.
Back in our day.
I don't need there to be, you know, 15 different versions of a character. You know, I was happy previously in the 3D era with just, you know, 2 extra skins that you could find and unlock, or 1 extra skin. Like I said, that's not a big deal to me. And that kind of support for a game, I don't need it.
Fair enough. That's totally fair. I mean, going back to those days, like if it meant only having 2 skins per character, but unlocking things via the crypt in the old fashion that we used to, I'd be totally down to go back to that. But the sad reality is that the crypt has really been removed in place of other systems, which in my opinion are much lesser in what they provide to the game. So yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a happy balance that could be reached, and in my opinion, for those who care about the, as you called it, Barbie dress up, they can allow them to purchase them or put them in as gifts, for example, as they did in MK11, or alongside character packs. As we mentioned, Tremor's bundle in MKX came with 3 skins, same with Tanya's, same with Predators. Like, that's a sort of cool balance of ways to throw these skins in the game. But the pricing needs to be better. And I think that's really the whole crux of this conversation. We should probably address, why is the microtransaction approach in this game so bad? What would you say really makes this bad?
Well, the game's content itself is extremely low in Mortal Kombat 1. And this extra supplemental content that they have is being drip-fed into the game for real money, which is hidden behind this very large amount of dragon crystals, which in past episodes we compared this to, like, the Chuck E. Cheese tokens and Dave and Buster bucks, Disneyland dollars, things like that. You don't know how much money you actually have because you have to do some kind of currency exchange in order to figure out what you're spending on these different things.
Yes, that is a very, very good point. And on top of that, considering the prices are skyrocketing since MK11, since MKX, since MK9, we're not just pushing the limit anymore. We're past the limit, way past it. MK11, MKX at least dropped skin packs alongside combat pack characters. We don't even have confirmation on whether or not that's happening yet or not. In fact, we're technically seeing the opposite, with Cameo Tremor coming on November 20th, I think, at a later date than the first combat pack character Omni-Man, who's coming out on the 9th of November.
You had made a post about it, and a lot of people criticize your thoughts on that. So I'd like you to actually explain that a little bit more. Why is that such a big deal that we're getting these characters dropped at different points in time?
Sure, very happy to. And also, I would like to address the fact that I was not just getting attacked for that point. I actually had a lot of backup on that point, and I see many people echoing my sentiments. But really, my main problem is that really Tremor was advertised along with Omni-Man in both trailers. That is firstly advertising as if he's going to be dropping at the exact same time. Secondly, if I remember the combat packs correctly, there are the same number of cameo characters as there are combat pack characters, playable characters. Mm-hmm. One would assume, and maybe you could, go with the old, when you assume you make an, but one would assume that one character would drop at the same time as a cameo character. In my opinion, they were supposed to, and in my opinion, they're not finished, and that's why Tremor is being delayed.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being the case. And for those who think that this is just a minor complaint, that's a good point. They could be unfinished, and that kind of furthers to the quality of this game at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, they're drip feeding us content, and they're finding really ways to sort of just promote the microtransactions. And I keep saying microtransactions. I really feel like we should be referring to them as microtransactions. I'd like to also mention the availability of seasonal credits. We mentioned these multiple currencies, very, very similar to mobile games, and we have a seasonal store. The very existence of this means that the Halloween Fatality and skins, Terra Rain, things like that, the Baraka skin, the Natara skins, they should honestly be sold there rather than in the premium store. Like, I'm sorry, but it's a seasonal store. Now, yes, you can argue, oh yes, it's the season for the invasion. Okay, Halloween, 'tis the season. Come on, it fits.
Well, yeah, especially because these seasons of invasions are lining up with cultural seasons. I mean,
exactly.
The coming up season, or the season that is occurring right now, is what is it? The season of blood or something like that, with the vampire stuff.
That's the next season, yeah, for Natara.
Yeah, and it was advertised heavily as a Halloween-y type of season. So I agree. Seasonal stores should contain seasonal fatalities if we're getting seasonal fatalities, which that in itself is a big controversy, because people don't want to buy fatalities. The fan base as a whole thinks that fatalities should be included in game, no matter what kind of fatality it is.
Well, let's come back to this. I do want to get to the fatality for sure, but I do want to emphasize the point that, there are a finite amount of earnable dragon crystals by gameplay. So fatalities, as you just mentioned, skins, gear, at some point, if you do really like them, you're going to have to shell out real money. And sadly, it's going to be a large amount of money, at least compared to previous games. And it's getting to the point where, as I said, forget getting to the point. They've crossed that point. They've crossed the line, in my opinion, especially when the earnable content is being sold alongside premium store exclusive content, and the game doesn't even mention where the skin is coming from. You know, like it just, I don't know. We've mentioned this in previous videos. The gameplay, the story, they're great. They're absolutely great. The roster, amazing, best roster. But the rest of the game really is lacking that polish and just that feeling of being complete. It feels as if microtransactions were designed first, and then the rest of the game was built around them.
Yeah, I mean, this is a $70 game, $110 for Premium Edition, and even more than that for the Collector's Edition. But its microtransactions model is basically, as we stated, a free-to-play game, like a freemium game like Fortnite. And that's a lot of money for a Fortnite-type game.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there.
Now, the biggest offender so far has been the Halloween fatality, which it's actually being sold for around 1,200 dragon crystals. How much would that be in US dollars?
When I'm converting it from other currencies, it's between 10 and 12. Everybody's saying 12 US dollars, and that makes the most sense.
That's almost the same price as the current Kombat pack in Mortal Kombat 11.
I mean, yeah, MK11's Kombat Pack 1 is $19.99, and I think Kombat Pack 2 is $14.99. But one of the best parts about this Happy Halloween fatality is, one, it does not even say it is a fatality. It only says Happy Halloween. I'm sorry, but it says Happy Halloween, and two, it says the price, 1,200 dragon crystals, $12. People don't even know what they're buying.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with it, if you haven't been, bombarded by the controversy of it, you wouldn't even know what it is by seeing it on the store. There's actually been a lot of content creators and fighting game community players and members who have spoken out against this fatality, including those who seem to have a very close relationship with Warner Brothers and NRS. In my opinion, it's been refreshing to see that many people stand up against this type of monetization. But on the other hand, you see people that are kind of backing it up.
Yeah, that's the weirdest part to me, but at the same time, that seems to reverberate throughout multiple games in the community. Like, this is a multi-billion-dollar company, all right? Albeit one which does seem to be in the midst of financial woes, if reports are to be believed. But they really do not need people sticking up for these kinds of practices. I'm all for praising when things are done correctly and calling out when things are done incorrectly. And this is one of those moments. This is when the community, and I don't just mean, the MK community, I feel like gaming community as a whole needs to come together and improve things for the player base rather than allowing ourselves to be taken advantage of as consumers. Games, as Phantom, the boomer, would say, they used to allow you to unlock content. And I mean, I grew up at the same time as that stuff. They didn't just sell you the content, they actually allowed you to unlock it. Crypt was a great way of doing it. And to see, Ed going into interviews saying, we found this crazy cool new way to allow players to unlock content and then to get invasions of the premium store. No, I don't know. MK could have at least struck that balance as it's done previously, but now it's all just seems to be microtransactions and really low effort content in terms of palette swap.
The current saying right now is speak with your pocketbook. And I think we've seen a lot of fans doing that across various entertainment industries, various products such as Mortal Kombat. Now, despite all these people speaking out against microtransactions, WB and NRS have pretty much remained silent on the topic and seem to be willing to just let the dramas kind of boil over. The Mortal Kombat and the gaming community as a whole shouldn't let this happen.
Yeah, I mean, that is exactly what they want. And we see it all the time. I'm not even just talking Warner Bros. Or NRS. I'm talking in general with these sorts of things. People complain, the company in question stays quiet, everybody forgets, moves on to the next thing, and then nothing's done about it. And really, the very least they could and should have done is address the drama. It's honestly disgusting to me. All they want is for people to forget it And that's exactly why it's essential for us to keep the conversation going. It's not okay. And this needs to continue to be called out.
Yeah, and we're really curious on what you guys think of this topic. Are you fans of this new microtransaction system? Or are you like myself and Yanni, where you're used to things like the crypt, where you kind of get this sort of content for free, including fatalities? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments and also like and subscribe.
Yeah, the more that you will comment on this topic, the more you give your opinions, the more that this sort of discussion is had, I feel like things could potentially improve. The gaming community has really kept its mouth shut and just eaten whatever is being shoveled into our mouths for a very long time. And I feel like a balance can be struck in terms of supporting the game through reasonable microtransactions, going all the way back to that horse armor that we mentioned in a previous video, Phantom, and unlocking things via in-game means. There is a balance to be struck, and right now we are very, very far from that balance on the wrong side.
The Mortal Kombat franchise has been undergoing a drastic transformation that not everyone is actually happy with. This has been our discussion on the de-evolution of macro or microtransactions in Mortal Kombat.
Remember, the gaming community has a powerful voice, so let's make sure it's heard. Like, subscribe, share, and comment to keep the conversation going. Thank you very much for watching.